Hello, hello. Happy Tuesday. Hi, Mary, Robin, Mary, Susan, hello. Hey, Jan. Hey, Jan, are you in town or are you on vacation? All right. Well, we'll give it a minute or two and get started. But as I had mentioned, hey, Pat, um, we're doing part two of this technique talk, and you can see here these are some of the backgrounds we did in part one. I did post the link to last month's part one. So hopefully you had a chance to take a peek at that. But we are going to continue moving forward with this technique. Hey, Marianne and Marilyn. Um, and you can see I did a little sample here of what we are doing. We are going to do part two with the same smooshing technique with our acetate, which probably hard to see. But we are going to use Wow embossing powder. I have a couple of metallics here. And we used water and ink for the first part. We are going to use Distress Resist Spray. And I am going to also try this with the Wow re-inking embossing ink as well. But first, I did it with Distress Resist Spray. And I changed up the technique a little bit while I was testing with it today to make it a lot easier. So 7 o'clock, we're going to get started. I decided that using pipettes in the distress resist spray was easier than trying to spray it. I always have trouble spraying, and I'm never right by a sink to quickly rinse out my sprayer, so it tends to get clogged, and well, then it's not usable. So I get irritated. so on one of the backgrounds, this embossing powder is it's a metallic, and of course I can't see. It's bronze. I'm not sure. It's the fine one, and I just can't see what it's really called. But we are going to use, this one is the polished silver, and I thought we would do it on this background. Hey, Barbara and Gail, Marilyn, welcome, welcome. So what we are going to do is, as you remember last time, we had a larger piece of acetate and we put it over our back or our paper that we were using so that we can kind of see where we want to put well, in this case it's the resist spray. So still same thing, except that this one has the background. We're going to put that underneath the acetate so we kind of know. And like I said, I found it to be easier to take the sprayer off and use a pipette and get some of the liquid in there. So you can see in the pipette here. All right. Now you don't need a lot, because you don't want your embossing powder to cover up the whole background. See, these spots are large. It was one of the first ones that I tried. It's not horrible, but I want to try to do it a little bit smaller. So I'm going to put smaller little bits of resist spray here, kind of dotted around. So small dots. Yeah, you can see that pretty good on the camera actually. All right, let me get a paper towel. This stuff is sticky, so I don't want to set that on my mat because then I'll stick my arm in it. You know how that goes. Okay, now what we also want to do is, just like we did with the ink, we're going to spray some water because that'll get this to move around a little bit. But you want to be light-handed with the water on this one. We used not a ton of water last time, but we used a lot of water because we wanted to get the ink to move around. All right. We do want the resist spray liquid to move, but we don't want it to cover the whole sheet, which is kind of what we were trying to do with the ink. So I'm gonna do a couple of light spritzes of water. All right, and like we did before, since we've got it right where our paper is, we are going to pick up the acetate and we are going to flip it over. Now don't press hard when you put it down, just lightly put it on there, all right? And you can see it kind of suctions on to the paper, and you can press it if you want to, but you don't really have to, all right? So you just want to get some of that resist spray onto the paper, and then you are going to, and you aren't even going to believe this, but the girl who, makes the funnel tray didn't even bring her funnel tray down here, so I'm going to have to do it the old way with paper. So we're going to sprinkle our embossing powder all over because I really couldn't see where the liquid was, but so we'll sprinkle that all over. Welcome, welcome everybody. And then we are going to lift it and tap it off. All right. Of course, we want to put this back in our embossing jar, and then we want to close it because Michelle is clumsy and she will spill it. Okay, now I'm going to use my heat tool, so it's going to be a little loud. All right, then we will heat up this embossing powder just like you would normally do your embossing. But for those of you that do layers, you know that you shouldn't typically get attached to your first layer because if you're building them up, you're covering it and it's going to look very, very different. So like I said, this is polished silver. Yep, polished silver. It's the regular embossing powder from WOW. It's not like super fine or anything like that, or glittery or chunky or any of that. It takes a little bit longer to melt just because you've got some water in there, so it's got to evaporate the water first and then melt the powder. Sorry, I just want to wipe my acetate off really quick before the resist dries on it. All right, look at that. So there you have it. Another. Mary's asking, could you splatter the resist spray, then add the powder? Yes, I'm sure that you could. But you have to be careful with the splattering of the resist spray because it's sticky. And when I splatter, I kind of go a little crazy. So it might be a good idea to use your splat box. for that. All right. Now, I wanted to try doing that with this. This is the re-inker for the WOW, but it's got a brush on it, and it's pretty thick embossing ink, because the WOW embossing ink stays wet a little bit longer. All right, so I'm going to try that though. I'm going to put my acetate over another background, and this one I am going to do Vegas Gold. All right, now, if I can open it, woo. All right, so as you can see, this is kind of like nail polish, right? Because, well, it's got a brush in there too. So I am going to just kind of let it drip. This one might be a little easier to splatter with, Mary, because it's not so liquid and it might not go flinging around. But if you could get it to work, you could get like the little strings on it, you know, and kind of swirl those around and get a really cool pattern too. Oops. I went a little out of the lines. Let's try it. Make really cool brush marks too. Okay, so there we have put the embossing ink on. I'm just going to put a little bit of water to see if it'll move, and then flip it over. All right, I'm going to press this one down because this ink is thicker than the resist spray. All right, we'll peel that off. This Vegas Gold is a little chunkier as far as embossing powders go. As you can kind of tell, it looks a little gravelly. Kind of reminds me of kitty litter. I don't know why. I don't even have a cat. All right, so see, that is what it looks like before we heat it. Let's save these little gems over there in the jar. Close that up because, like I said, I'm a klutz. This one kind of looks like it's splattered the way that we were able to paint it on there, and then when we added the water, moved it around. Now, if you remember, WOW also had the rollerball re-inker for their embossing ink. If you've got that one, that would be a fun one to try also. All right. Wipe my acetate off again. Okay, look at that. So this is the resist spray, and this one is the WOW re-inker. Also the resist spray. All right, super fun, right? All right, I'm gonna try to do a little splattering because Mary's got my interest peaked here now. So let's take the acetate over another background that we did, so we know where we should splatter. Oh, I can feel it going everywhere. It just splattered my face. All right, let's see what we get. Little water. You don't have to put the water. I just like to go ahead and add the water because it does make it move a little bit. All right, let's see what we got. Let's do the bronze. Since this is a warmer background. See what we got here. Oh, Jen, you have used your resist spray to emboss? Yeah, I think it's fun. Sorry, just trying to keep up with the comments too. All right, I think I like this the best so far because it's a little bit less, I guess, less blobs, but I guess it really just depends on what look you're going for. Super fun though. I can't wait to see what y'all do when you try this. Make sure you share. All right. Again, wipe the acetate off over here before it dries and blobs. Look at that. I like that one. What do you think? A little bit more subtle. All right. So that's splatter with resist. This one is the embossing brush re-inker of the Wow. And then this one and this one is also resist spray. So yeah, I think that they're all great results, but I think I like this one. All right, any questions? You'll have to also test it out with the Distress Embossing Glaze. I bet that would be fun too, because it would still be a little shiny, but it's also a little translucent. So you could still see your background through it, but it would bring in some of those same colors. I think that would be fun too. So give it a shot and share. All right. I'll give it a minute for questions. How's everybody doing? Keeping warm? I am freezing my batootie off. You don't normally hear that coming from me, but my feet have been freezing all day today. I don't like it. I wish it would warm up a little bit. All right, I don't see any questions. So thank you for joining me on this part 2 of our 2-part series of our smooshing background technique. I can't wait to see what you guys do with it. I hope you'll try it. It's super fun. And we'll be seeing you soon. If you're going to be in the store tomorrow, you might see me in the afternoon. You never know. All right, ladies, happy Tuesday. Stay warm. We'll see you soon.